Has Meghan Markle just been caught trying to drive a wedge between King Charles and Prince William? If this is true, then why would she do this? Hey up everyone, it's me, Stef The Alter Nerd, your nerdy alternative, and welcome to the Dose of the Daily Nerd, where I break down the royal news and gossip of the day that's pretty much caught me eye, and oh my goodness, yeah. Let's jump into this madness, shall we? Because has Meghan Markle just been caught trying to drive a wedge between King Charles and Prince William? And if this is true, then why would she do this in the first place? Now, this is all opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever. Do your own research, come to your own conclusions, just to be upfront and transparent for this video. Now, this is the article that's kicking it all off. Daily Mail saying someone is trying to drive a wedge between Charles and William. I'm no conspiracy theorist, but even my royal sources say something calculated and odd is going on. And who do we know that has been consistently described as being calculated? Our very own Megsy, right? Now, the article goes on to say, I'm not a natural conspiracy theorist, and neither are members of the royal family generally, believe it or not. But if recent events are anything to go by, then something is starting to look a little more than suspect. From sources at the weekend, apparently close to the Sussexes, suggesting Prince Harry might be able to help lighten the load of royal engagements, to claims by biographer Tina Brown that King Charles is less irritated by his prodigal son than he is by Prince William over his work ethic, there has been a torrent of suggestions about tensions at the top. Indeed, a source close to both the King and Prince William told me starkly this week, quote, it's evident there's an attempt to manufacture division between them, when in reality no such rift exists. In truth, their relationship is as strong as ever. They are aligned in their work with many areas of shared interest and united in their vision for the role of the royal family. Now there's a flicker of suspicion in royal circles that something more calculated could be at work here. What or who may be behind the conjecture isn't clear. However, there's an opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever, that Megsy could actually be behind this, and we'll get onto that in a moment, so stay tuned. The article, though, goes on to say, it's a worrying turn of events after I revealed earlier this year that Kensington Palace had discovered Russian bots were seeking to disseminate misinformation around the Princess of Wales's prolonged absence from public life in the run-up to a cancer announcement last year. The timing is even stranger given the state visit recently by President Trump, which even the royals' greatest naysayers acknowledged was a triumph in diplomatic terms and displayed the family's soft power in action. The article then goes on to conclude that both King Charles and Prince William have a vested interest in the institution of monarchy surviving and thriving, and that no one will be allowed to drive a wedge between them over that. So someone's trying to drive a wedge between them, but they're not being successful. The thing is, though, who's trying to do this? Now, there's an opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever out there, that it could actually be Megsy herself that's doing this. So here, we've got Maria Montessori on X saying, definitely Meghan's team. And here, we've got Lady C on X speaking out on this. And she's got some very, very important points to make here. So she says the following. How obtuse is Harry to still remain deaf to the cacophony that his harpy of a wife is creating, with all the skill of Maxim Venogrov on the Stradivarius upon which he now fiddles, and which was once owned by Rudolf Kreutzer, to whom Beethoven dedicated his 9th violin sonata. Over the last week or so, we have been given a masterclass in how Meghan is ensuring that Harry will be thwarted in his ambition to reconnect with his family. So the opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever goes, that it's apparently Meghan that's trying to drive a wedge between King Charles and Prince William and whatnot to try and sabotage Hazard's efforts to reconcile with the royal family, to reconcile with King Charles. Now, Lady C goes on to say, Who does Harry think leaked all those histrionic details to the American tabloids of the tear fest that was the meeting between father and son, both of whom were incredibly reported to have broken down in tears, as if they were in a Meghan Markle production? Contrary to the emotional restraint that all mature and civilized royals, who are not on mind-altering substances like Harry, allegedly, exhibit. Who was it who planted the stories that the king was eager to permit Harry to be half in, half out? Who implied that William would need Harry as his wingman to help him reduce his workload? Who retailed bits of details of the meeting to the American tabloids, getting enough right to convince Harry that the palace was leaking, but enough wrong to throw him off the scent? Incredibly, Harry states that it is the men in grey suits who are responsible for the derailment of his desires. Does that mean that Harry is not only dumb but also blind? I would say so, yeah. Yeah, she then goes on to say that he can't differentiate between his monochromatic wife and the men in grey. I know Meghan doesn't have the most feminine of attributes, but surely she isn't so masculine, saving a dominant personality which archetypically personifies masculinity, that Harry now confuses her with a man? Harry, it's not the men in grey, it's the macho woman who invariably presents herself satirically in monochromatic colour schemes like grey or beige, though when she remembers to brown up, she is decidedly two and sometimes even three-toned, in that the face is several shades darker than the neck, body or scalp. One would have to have a heart of stone not to feel some pity for him. Not sympathy, but pity. And so, Lady C, she, in my opinion, conspiracy theory or whatever, brings up this really good point that potentially it's Megxie that's leaking all these details, right, about the reunion between King Charles and Prince Hazard. And that potentially she could also be the leak that's trying to publicly drive a wedge between King Charles and Prince William. Why? If this is true, then why would Megxie do this in the first place? I know a lot of you guys will have your reasons as to why in this scenario Megxie would do this, and I'd love to hear what you guys think, so make sure you pop your comments below this video here. But for me, if this is true, then why would she do this? What answer springs to my mind when I'm in front of that question? Well, firstly, as an alleged narcissistic nutbag from hell, what I've learned about narcissists, thanks greatly to HD Tudor, and make sure you're following him on YouTube here. He says that narcissists love to be able to isolate their victims because that means that they can enact even more control over that person. So with Hazard allegedly going back to the royal family wanting to reconcile with them, he won't be so isolated anymore, which is something that an alleged narcissistic nutbag from hell would not want, right? The other thing as to why she would potentially do this, maybe she's trying to maintain this narrative that the royal family are the bad guys and we're the good guys over here in Montecito, California. And we don't want anything to do with the bad guys whatsoever. No. Maybe she's doing what she's doing allegedly to maintain this facade of victimhood that she's trying to create for herself. Maybe. But enough about what I think. I mean, what do you guys think? With that being said, if you appreciated this video and you want more, and of course there's going to be more, then make sure you subscribe to join our Alter Nerd tribe here on YouTube. If you're watching on X, make sure you're following me at Stef Alter Nerd for more misadventures of the gruesome twosome. Like, share, comment down below your opinion, conspiracy theory, whatever. Do you think it's Megxie that's trying to drive a public wedge between King Charles and Prince William? And if so, why do you think she's doing that? Let me know in the comments down below. And whilst you're at it, apparently this is a new feature on YouTube. You can now hype the hell out of videos. So whilst you're here, why not hype the hell out of this video as well? Thank you so much, though, for tuning into this one. I appreciate all your faces. And until the next time, you guys, laters.